Coming soon to own on
YouTube and Twitch. Dumb rules that exist for smart reasons. Not a lot of talking from here. Obviously, self-explanatory. Let's go. Let's go ahead and get straight into it.
Rules that exist for smart reasons. The sliced bread ban. I know, shocking, right? I didn't believe
They banned sliced bread.
it when I heard it either. Mainly because every time you hear about sliced bread, it's always within the context of how amazing it is. Which I find a bit ironic because it seems like
Fair.
most people hold the invention of sliced bread in higher regard than the invention of actual bread. You know, the food that
I'm not gonna lie, yeah. The sliced bread invented a whole new genre of shit though, versus the loaf of bread. If you really think about it, you wouldn't have no toasters, no sandwiches. Like that slicing the bread up changed the game. Like think about it. Back in the day, they used to break the bread and just eat it. No slices. They used to carve out the inside of the bread and use it as a dipper. No slices. That slicing that bread changed the whole game for real.
literally sustained humanity for generations? That's besides the point. When sliced bread came out, it was one of the biggest inventions of all time, at least according to catchphrases. But did you know that there was a period of history, albeit brief, where the United States government literally banned sliced bread? Let me explain.
Why?
The entire sliced bread saga dates all the way back to 1912, when a man named
Yo, 1912 was just an all around bad year for everybody. It's like, god damn. Especially America, you know, that Titanic shit.
Otto Frederick Rohwedder created the first prototype for an automatic bread slicer, although this prototype would stay exactly that for a few years. And unfortunately, only 5 years later in 1917, a fire at his warehouse not only destroyed his bread slicing prototype, but also destroyed all of the documentation around it. That includes the blueprints, the spare parts, the other versions he was working on. Literally everything associated with this initial prototype was destroyed in a fire, delaying one of the best inventions of all time by another decade. 11 years later.
Alright, hold on. Nigga, you don't remember how to make your own shit? The fuck you mean 11 years later? He must have like restarted and like just from I don't know, 11 years though? When you already had a prototype made? I know you don't have the schematics and shit, but like I feel like it shouldn't take you 11 years to rebuild.
Later in 1928, with the help from the Chillicothe Baking Company in Missouri, Otto's invention was finally able to get picked up off the ground. Not only were they beginning to use this prototype machine, but they also claimed, quote, this was the greatest step forward in the baking industry since bread was wrapped. Meaning that even back then, nearly 100 years ago, people were so enthusiastic about bread innovation. The start of the sliced bread craze was slow, but after a few years and many large-scale marketing campaigns, sliced bread was a household staple by the 1930s. And by the late 1930s, it was a necessity in every household.
Bread is really the backbone of this country,
bread was invented. You know, the bread that literally looks like printer paper. But of course, this video isn't about the history of bread, and we've already discussed what the dumb rule was, so what was the smart reason for this weird ban? And without giving too much away, let me just say that this ban took place in 1943, a time when World War II was in full effect, and the United States of America was heavily involved. It shouldn't come as a surprise that during World War II, rations were a way of life to ensure that there was proper availability and supply chain to.
Trying to think, when did we reach the Great Depression? I'm trying to guess before he says it. I guess the reason why they banned sliced bread was because the Great Depression and people were only buying slices of bread because that's all they can afford. That's my guess.
Supply our troops overseas with everything they needed to, in this case, kick some Nazi butt. But these rations came with a price. Besides the inherent restricted lifestyle experienced by everyday Americans, there was also frequent unexpected shortages. For example, sugar or rubber tires running in short supply. And it was because of this that the American government was becoming more and more anxious about not having the proper supplies or supply chain to fund one of the most important wars of all time. And it was actually this anxiety that led to the banning of sliced bread.
So they banned bread to save up on supplies so people won't buy too much bread that they can't send over.
On January 18th, 1943, Claude R. Wickard, the head of the War Foods Administration, declared that selling sliced bread was illegal. His rationale for this was because sliced bread required thicker wrapping paper to stay fresh, and he argued with the banning of sliced bread that more wax paper would be available, once again, for the troops overseas. But not only would we save wax
paper? I thought you was doing this for the bread. The fuck?
paper, but we would save steel that would otherwise go to the production of new bread slicing machines. Now, admittedly, I can kind of see both sides of this because A, this definitely sucks and seems extremely arbitrary, and I feel like there's other corners to be cut. But at the same end, when you are literally fighting in World War II, I think there is no better expression than desperate times call for desperate measures. But with that
Yeah.
being said, this ban on sliced bread was definitely not met with acceptance, and almost instantly there was public outrage, specifically among housewives in America, who at this time in many cases were expected to be not only single parents, homemakers, and also full-time factory workers to ensure that the labor force didn't collapse. When these women learned that one of their newest luxuries was going to be taken away from them, they were understandably upset. And
And for some reason, why there's some women that want to go back to this, talking about men used to go to war. Yeah, bro, they used to, and nigga, they ain't really want to go. They just want to protect their country.
there was even a famous quote that was written in a letter to the New York Times only a week after the ban took place. The quote goes as such: "I should like to let you know how important sliced bread is to the morale and the saneness of a household. My husband and 4 children are all in a rush during and after breakfast. Without ready sliced bread, I must do the slicing for toast, 2 pieces each. That's 10 for their
All right, now that's like, I guess like we fucking up yo day to day, but it's like, hey, these people are fighting for the country and the world, and you're complaining about it. You have to slice your bread, not you not getting bread in the first place.
lunches. I must cut by hand at least 20 slices for 2 sandwiches apiece. Afterwards, I make my own toast. That's 22 slices of bread to cut in a hurry." That is only one example from one woman, but it paints a picture of how the American people were feeling at this time, coupling not only the annoyance of sliced bread being banned, but also all of the other rations taking place and a literal world war happening overseas. And it was because of all of the public outcry that only 3 months after the ban was introduced, the ban was appealed, and sliced bread was once again legal in the United States. I wanted to add this entry very first on the list because I thought the concept of sliced bread being banned was so funny. And while I think we can all agree that this was definitely a dumb rule, I would hope that at least most of us could agree that there was definitely a good reason for this rule. Specifically,
Yeah, it was a
doing
good reason.
everything humanly possible to ensure that the Americans and the Allies destroy one of the most evil regimes to ever exist. But let's keep moving. The bear wrestling ban. This rule is dumb not because it seems
It's not Russia. Hey, your little dumbass try to wrestle a bear, you gonna fuck around and find out. You not one of them Russian niggas. I don't care how white you are or how drunk you are. You off them three, 4 shots out that vodka, don't mean you could go wrestle a bear or some shit. Just because you did JV wrestling doesn't mean you the big guy on campus, all right? That bear will fuck you, all right?
nonsensical or arbitrary, but because why is this rule even required? Anybody with half a brain and potentially somebody with even a quarter of a brain would understand not to wrestle a bear, right? Well,
Nah,
apparently
nah,
not
it-
people in Alabama in the 1970s. Let me
course,
explain. I don't know about you, but when I
70s.
first read this ban, I instantly envisioned a person walking into the woods, finding a bear randomly, and then wrestling it. But that is not at all what was happening and not what caused this ban whatsoever. The good
They definitely went to like a wildlife preserve. Somebody they knew was like, hey, let me wrestle this bear.
reason behind this seemingly obvious rule is actually pretty upsetting. During the 1970s, 80s, and even 1990s, bear wrestling was an extremely popular part of circus culture in the United States. And it's also no surprise that these animals are typically not treated well. But potentially one of the poorest treated animals in the entire show was the bear, specifically meant for wrestling. Just for a moment, imagine you're the leader of a circus and you want to have a spectacular bear wrestling act in your circus. How do you go about achieving this safely? Do you A, scrap the idea because this seems unsafe and immoral? B, train a bear to wrestle safely so it can put on a show but also keep your performer safe? Or C, torture, drug, and mutilate the bear until the point that it is so limp and brain dead that literally anybody with a pulse could wrestle it successfully? The answer
They
is
definitely went
obviously
with
C,
C.
and that's exactly
Yeah, nigga, a weak bear? Oh yeah, you just sold out a show right there, nigga. Anybody can wrestle it. You know how many egotistical drunk people are gonna want to wrestle that bear?
exactly what happened. Ringleaders knew that they couldn't risk having their talent hurt or killed because that would affect profits. And they also knew that training a bear would take too long. So the porridge that was just right was to literally feed the bear a consistent chemical cocktail to keep them subdued, remove their
Damn, you just
teeth
feeding
and
this nigga
claws
perks?
so they had no opportunity to fight back. And on top of both of these things, consistently torture the bear and keep them malnourished in between shows so that the bear is consistently weak and in a state of fear. meaning that it would rather cower than actually fight back. And one of the most disgusting examples of profiteering off this act was not only having circus staff wrestle these bears for a show.
Oh yeah, look how skinny this bear is. Oh yeah, no claws. If he don't got no teeth, the fuck you put him in a mask for? Yeah, I don't. Realistically, you could have just put a big fat nigga in a bear suit, and this would have been done the same thing. But 70s was
But they would
crazy
actually
time.
sell people in the crowd access to wrestle the bear to look tough. And you just know if that a
See,
ringleader
I
felt
told
so
you.
confident to have anybody at the circus wrestle their bear, they were messing up the bear so much that there was no way it could hurt anybody. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying these bears should have killed fans or circus employees. I'm just saying they shouldn't have been there in the first place. And that's not even
Fair.
mentioning the extremely questionable
Super fair.
methods the circus has used to acquire these bears. And of course, these bear wrestling matches didn't just happen once or twice. They were so prevalent that states had to create their own laws
once a week.
banning them. For example, Alabama made bear wrestling a Class B felony, and this law passed only in 1996, after a lot of the damage was already done. But
26 years later of bear wrestling, nigga, I done retired by now. If I'm the circus leader, I've been running this shit for 26 years. Nigga, I'm retired now.
I guess better
Go
late
ahead,
than
ban
never.
the
But
shit.
interestingly, this law was repealed a decade ago in 2015. Not because they wanted to bring back bear wrestling, but because the law was no longer necessary. Circus culture had died down significantly, and bear wrestling was officially a thing of the past. And quite frankly, this law was more or less of a publicity stunt than a traditional piece of legislation. Obviously, this was an enforceable felony, although it was stated that the creation of this law was more or less of an act aimed to support animal welfare and public safety. But yeah, upon a first listen, hearing that wrestling bears is now banned seems redundant and weird. But when you actually learn the story of it, it makes total sense. The dissection debate. This is actually the first rule
Dissection
we're gonna
debate.
discuss that doesn't ban something, it actually allows something. But be warned, this one is pretty morbid. The dumb rule that is in play here is known as the Autonomy Act of 1832, and this rule states that doctors, teachers, and medical students in Britain can legally dissect the bodies of unclaimed dead from workhouses, prisons, and hospitals. Upon
I think that's a fair decision. Maybe not teachers. Well, I feel like you gotta have certain badges of a teacher to be able to do this, but I think it's a good idea in theory of an unclaimed body. Somebody who died. Like, study the body. If the more people studying the body and the changes, because everybody's different and humans are not always going to be, linear. You know, study for new things, new shit. They're trying to discover new shit in everybody. So I don't think that's that crazy.
a first listen, that not only sounds dumb, but also sounds pretty immoral. Like, just think about it. If somebody
Yeah,
dies
it's definitely
in prison
immoral.
or in a hospital, and they can't find a living family member, which it probably wasn't easy to find a living family member in 1832, the body was essentially
yeah.
just up for grabs to any doctor, teacher, or medical student. That to me sounds like a slippery slope and a lot of room for a lot of malpractice, to say the least.
Definitely.
But believe it or not, this dark and dumb rule actually saved a lot of lives. See,
See?
prior to the autonomy
I told you. They use that study and they analyze, see how they died, make adjustments.
Act, the only way that doctors, teachers, and medical students could dissect a body was if the government gave these individuals the body of an executed criminal. This, for a long time, was standard practice. Somebody breaks the law, they get killed for it, and the body gets essentially donated to science. But issues began to rise when in the 18th and 19th centuries, medical schools needed more and more cadavers to not only teach but learn more about the human anatomy. And it was with this rise of education and bodily exploration that the supply of these bodies were nowhere near the demand. And unfortunately, this gap in the market led to some very unethical practices. One of the main side hustles that was born out of this shortage was something known as body snatching. And it would go a little
Oh yeah, they was digging up graves.
something like this. If you were a poor individual living in the slums of London and needed to get a few bucks, an easy way for you to get some quick cash is to take a shovel, wait till it's nighttime, and then go to the nearest graveyard. Dig up any
Start
body
digging
that was
up
freshly
graves.
buried and take it to any of the local universities. You know that these universities have money, and you know that they need bodies. So a lot of these universities were, at this point in time, willing to pay cash money for bodies, no questions asked. And it only got worse when people decided that they could optimize on this strategy. And by that,
Oh yeah, they just start killing people.
I mean that these body snatchers decided that they would just cut out the middleman. Why go dig up a dead body if you could just make a dead body? And by that, I mean people would literally just kill people and then take the body of their murdered victim directly to the university for cash money. This was more or less the
Insane
peak of
work.
body snatching. And when this specific story broke and spread across all of Britain, the government knew they had to do something. And it was at that exact moment when the Autonomy Act of 1832 was established. So while it may seem odd that any unclaimed undesirable can just be donated to science against their will, I think the rule makes a lot more sense once you realize that a lack of bodies was not only creating a scientific bottleneck, but was also creating a nationwide trend of grave robbing and eventually murder. This dumb
Yeah.
and morbid law actually had a pretty good reason, especially considering the time frame. Like in the 1800s,
I think it's a
there was
good- it's a
nowhere
good
near
law
the
to have.
medical standards that there are today. Okay, this is off topic, but do you smell that? It smells
Uh-oh.
like you didn't shower. And if that's the case, I feel bad for your anime body pillow. But in case you did, you're obviously not using
See, like, why you have to go there, big bro? Like, why you cooking me, big bro? Like, I just like to snuggle up with my little pillow. What's wrong with that? Like, a nigga can't snuggle with his pillow no more. Like,
the right stuff, which is why this video is sponsored by Into. Want me to try
ooh,
using my link in the description of the video.
I knew it was coming.
Any other big. The state of New York. Yep, we're back to animal bans. But this one is really peculiar.
Tiger
In
selfie
2014,
ban.
The state of New York effectively put a ban on taking selfies with tigers and any other big cats. I think to most of us that sounds pretty dumb, but
Shit, that shit not banned in Florida though.
the reason why they did this makes a lot of sense, and it's actually quite short. The government of New York was getting so many copyright complaints from tigers from people who were taking pictures of them and selling them without giving proceeds to the tigers. And because the government of New York did not want to deal with any more lawsuits from tigers over copyright disputes, they decided to outright
Wow.
ban selfies altogether. That was obviously a total lie, I just made it up. Here's the real scoop. New York
about to
didn't
say, that didn't even
necessarily
sound believable.
ban taking selfies with tigers. What they did do was specifically ban any member of the public being near any dangerous animal in a circus, zoo, or carnival that is not in a safe and confined cage. And while it may seem like I'm reaching here, the purpose of this ban, keeping people and dangerous animals separated, was specifically inspired by the rise of tiger selfies. During the early 2010s, the dating app Tinder saw a massive surge of men on the platform
Niggas chasing the huz. Oh my god. Niggas chasing the huz out here risking their life for a fucking tiger flick. Whole time she's fucking the fucking barista at Starbucks. He reads books and drinks matcha. You trying to be the macho guy, nigga? Oh my
using
god.
pictures of themselves next to tigers as one of their profile photos. And this trend was so prevalent, in fact, that the Wall Street Journal estimates that 1 out of 10 people had a photo with a tiger
1 out of 10 dumbasses.
on their Tinder. Obviously, these men wanted to seem tough and adventurous.
Alright, nah, he wildin'. Yeah, you got your arm over all over. Like, you lucky this nigga sleep. Cause it looked like he full. It looked like he already ate. But if that nigga was hungry, he would've got that shit, nigga.
But in reality, all they were doing in most cases was contributing to animal exploitation. And when this was all brought
Yeah.
to the state of New York, they not only recognized it, but sought to put an end to it. And how they went about it was, of course, the tiger selfie ban. Because no, you can't ban taking a picture with an animal, but you can ban people from being around these dangerous animals. And this ban was pretty effective, considering the New York government knew that all these men that were taking these pictures to look tough knew that they wouldn't look nearly as tough if the tiger was in a cage behind them. And this ban was honestly pretty genius, because these people that were taking pictures with tigers and lions to look tough wouldn't want to have photos of them with a tiger in a cage, because then they wouldn't look tough at all. It would just look like they're taking a selfie at the zoo, completely nullifying the trend, helping mitigate animal exploitation. Similar to the ban of bear wrestling, tigers or lions or jaguars or any big cats that were specifically used for photo ops were not well taken care of in the slightest. A lot of these poor cats were bought young, taken away from their mothers, and for basically all of their life treated poorly and used as a toy and a means to earn profit. When this trend was
It's
on the
fucked
rise
up,
in the
man.
early 2010s, people were booking all kinds of big cat experiences.
Like, if I was to get an exotic animal, nigga, I wouldn't even do that shit for profit, nigga. I'm doing that shit. He gonna live a perfect life. Well, that animal's gonna live a perfect life. But the only exotic animal I probably will actually get, I get a pet wolf. I get 2 wolves. And because like the wolves are kind of territorial, like they're perfect guard dogs type shit. You know, they can, and also they can sleep outside because they love the cold. It get cold outside, they sleep outside. I give them a little command, hunt anything that comes near the house. I don't care what's running through the backyard, kill it. But like, yeah, They fucking over these tigers. I'm not
Tiger
gonna lie.
kitten play date, tiger kitten photo op, lion photo op, have a lion at your wedding, anything you could have imagined.
This that people's shit. Cause hell no. Why the hell is their lion just sitting right here? This did not make the picture any better. This shit looked photoshopped.
People were buying lions specifically with the purpose of pimping them out at public events to have them look cool. And obviously, if you're bringing a big cat to a public setting, the cat has to be extremely subdued, or in some cases, tortured, malnourished, declawed,
Lord.
defanged, drugged, and the like.
But making a tiger malnourished, wouldn't that make it more angry? I don't know. Because if it's hungry, it's gonna attack what's in front of it. I don't know.
And if you ever watched that documentary Tiger King, then you kind of get the idea of the dark business behind the whole big cat picture industry. And just like how Alabama wanted to stop the exploitation of bears, New York sought to stop the exploitation of big cats, which they did with their 2014 tiger selfie ban. A seemingly dumb rule with, in my opinion, a pretty smart plan of attack. The kitty cat cigarette ban. Okay, I swear, this video isn't a Trojan horse
Kitty cat cigarette ban? What the fuck? Who the hell giving their cats
for me
cigarettes?
to get on my vegan soapbox talking about animal cruelty. But coincidentally, there has been a lot of
I'm not gonna lie. I'm a vegan's worst nightmare. There's nothing you can show me. There's nothing you can tell me to make me stop wanting to eat meat. Pause. But if I want to eat that meat, I'm gonna eat meat. Pause. No homo.
interesting laws.
I'm just saying,
surrounding
I'm a
animals,
vegan's
but for
worst
the sake of
nightmare.
repetition, I'll keep this one brief. Similar to the second law we discussed, this ban isn't dumb because it seems arbitrary, it just seems extremely, well, redundant and nonsensical. The ban I'm specifically referring to is the ban that Illinois placed on handing your pet a
Illinois.
nicotine stick. To put it bluntly, in Illinois, it is explicitly stated that it is illegal to, quote, give a lit cigar or cigarette to a cat, dog, or other domestic
Like, why? Why and how? How the hell will a cat smoke a cigarette? Nigga, he's just gonna eat it. Or he probably not even gonna be
pet,
interested in it.
including ball python. And that's essentially the entire law. You cannot give a lit cigar or cigarette to your cat, dog, domestic pet, or explicitly stated ball
Babies count as a domestic pet? A domestic pet? The fuck?
python, because of course everybody's giving a lit cigar to their ball python. It's reported that this law comes from the early 1800s and by today's standards is relatively outdated, which I would agree with. But I wanted to mention it quickly because it, more than anything, just kind of sounded funny. And also just makes you think, how often was this happening if the state of Illinois had to not only recognize it, but ban it? Obviously, the good reason
Insane
behind this dumb
work.
law is to prevent pets from unintentionally burning themselves or even setting themselves on fire or potentially even trying to smoke and getting addicted. It was believed that this law was put into place as a general effort to prevent animal cruelty, which is obviously something that's completely reasonable. Although this law is just kind of notable and in my opinion hilarious because of how specific it is. The fact that legislators in Illinois had to explicitly exclaim and write with a quill in ink that no lit cigar or cigarette shall be given to any domestic pet, including cats, dogs, hamsters, and ball pythons, to me is hilarious and noteworthy, and we're gonna move on, but I just wanted to share it. And if you were curious, yes, this law is still active today. The no
Holy
spitting
shit.
sanction. First and foremost,
No
get
spitting
your mind
sanction.
out of the gutter. Now let's move on. I think we
I
can all
wasn't
agree
even
that if you see
there,
someone
bruh.
walking down the road
Damn.
just spitting on the sidewalk, it's definitely not polite and pretty gross. But is it something
Yeah.
that's worthy of a ban? Well, unless it becomes some sort of national trend, I don't see it as something worthy of government intervention. However, there was a time when the United States government decided that it
You ever been in a public place and you seen like somebody spit indoors? That shit is so fucking nasty. And like the floor is not even like, it's not even like a concrete. It's like tile or wood, and people are spitting indoors like it's a public building. I'm like, come on, that's so fucking nasty.
was in their best interest to ban any form of spitting in any public area. And this wasn't one of those obscure laws with a deeper meaning like some of the other ones we've discussed. No, this was a straightforward law that was not only written and passed, but also had signs placed everywhere reminding individuals and also had strict enforcement. But the question remains, what was the smart reasoning behind this dumb rule? And the answer, some of you
Nigga, don't
might have
fucking
guessed, is
spit.
health related. During 1918, during the last year of World War I, many cities across the United States were dealing with a major Spanish flu pandemic. This pandemic was extremely deadly. The United States
So wait, how the hell is it so far apart though? Because like I can understand from here to here to how the hell did they get infected all the way over here? And I know these are not military bases because there's a base in South Carolina, I think, like around this area. I'm kind of confused. How the hell does people get infected all the way out here by themselves? How they get it? Like these are more closer, but I understand that. I don't know. Especially with Texas. This part of Texas is all the way down here by itself.
We're dealing with a major
I don't know.
Spanish flu pandemic. This pandemic was extremely deadly, and the spread of this disease was seemingly never ending, which is why the US government was pretty desperate to do anything that could potentially stop the spread. During the time of the Spanish flu, over a century ago, health officials believed that diseases like influenza and tuberculosis were spread through saliva droplets. And it was because of this belief that they held that would
Technically,
later essentially be found true, they decided that their
yeah.
best course of action to help prevent the spread would be to minimize the creation of saliva droplets, which meant no spitting, specifically in any public place. Sidewalks, trains, theaters, anywhere. If you were caught spitting, you would be fined and potentially even arrested, which is just crazy to think about now. But during
Hell no. That's like in the COVID that's like back in COVID. Yo, throw your mask on and if you coughing, cover your mouth and don't be near people. Like, yeah, it seems silly, but it's like there was genuine people who would like fight on that hill of not wearing a mask for like 2 minutes inside of a store. It's like, bro, just come
1918,
on.
during the Spanish flu pandemic, I wouldn't want to even be in a public place, let alone spitting in one. Making this seemingly dumb rule make a lot more sense with context. And speaking of context, let me give you guys some context about how many of you are actually subscribed. YouTube literally tells me that over 6 me regularly on this. Simply leave a like or leave a comment below telling
Yeah,
me
I got
you
you with a
want a
light,
part
big
2.
dog.
I love making the videos that you guys want, so if you want a part 2, let me know and I'd be more than happy to make it. But now, let's get to the final entry on this list. The bubblegum ban. Chances are, if you've heard
Bubblegum
of
ban.
any of the dumb rules on this list, it's this one. And that's because this country's gum ban is extremely infamous. And I would actually bet money that you know the country that has this gum ban. And if you get
Fuck. He already said it.
Singapore, you'd be right. The whole
Yeah, I wasn't gonna get Singapore, I'm not gonna lie.
bubblegum ban in Singapore is regarded as one of those dumb laws or arbitrary laws.
Hold on. Singapore kinda nice. I'm just peeping the scenery. They got downtown lighting, like LED lights. This should probably shit crazy like a vibe.
But the actual history behind this bubblegum ban is very much so rooted in the history and culture of Singapore, and in my opinion, has some pretty good reasoning behind it. The origins of this ban date back to 1959, when Lee Kuan Yew, the first Prime Minister of Singapore, took office. Lee Kuan Yew is considered the founding father of modern-day.
Damn, I'm already putting it together. So Lee Kuan Yew, he became prime minister because back in the day, he lost his hoe to a nigga was blowing bubble gum. So he banned the shit throughout the country. When he bossed up, he was like, no bubble gum in my fucking country. Oh my God. See, Lee was cooking, bro. Now he a goat for that. Hold on, I don't know what type of man he was. Let me take that back. He might have been evil.
Singapore. And it's said that his political leadership is what transformed post-independent Singapore into a highly developed country in the
Exactly. I didn't even have to know about Brody. He a goat. And Singapore look nice. I like the yellow contrast they got in the city. Shit crazy.
major global hub that it is today. Lee Kuan Yew was literally prime minister from 1959 until 1990. That is a
God damn, he went on a run. He went on an insane run.
major run as prime minister. But for 2 years before and after he was prime minister, he was also the secretary general for the People's Action Party. To put it bluntly, this guy was invested in the success of Singapore. But I want to make it clear that I'm not necessarily advocating for Lee whatsoever. Like any politician or any person, there is both good and bad that must be recognized.
Oh shit. Here come the bad. Hey, if he did any crazy fucked up shit, I did not support him. Just
And
letting
with
y'all know.
any multi-decade long run as prime minister, there's definitely some questionable things that go on. For example, from 1968 to 1981, Singapore, under the control of Lee,
Damn, that's
instated
20
a
years.
one-party state. And because of this, he employed defamation laws and detention without trial, as well as other propaganda and social engineering techniques to continue his political success. So just keep that in mind. I'm not necessarily vouching
Ah, fuck. So he was only one political party. You go against me, you're thrown in jail. Fuck. Oh man, for 20 years straight. Yeah, that was a tough band-aid to rip off. Yeah. No, shout out to bro, but don't shout out him. You know.
for this guy. I'm just trying to unbiasedly state facts about the country. And two of the virtues that Lee held nearest and dearest to his heart was independence and cleanliness. And Lee has even gone on record to state that his goal when he became the Prime Minister of Singapore in 1965 was to, quote, create a first world oasis in a third world region. And he wanted to do
Oasis.
so through hyper-independence and, of course,
Wait, there's third world regions? I thought there was only third world countries, not like regions. I don't know.
cleanliness. The gum ban
I'm a
specifically was
dumbass
introduced
American.
in
I don't know no better.
1992. It was done so for a plethora of pretty practical reasons. On top of Lee's personal desire to keep the country as clean as possible, chewing gum was actually becoming quite a bit of a nuisance within Singapore specifically. Gum wrappers were littering the streets, chewed gum was stuck
Alright, that's wild. And you leaving the rappers on the floor and shit?
on any surface you can imagine, and most notably in the late 1980s, when Singapore launched its Mass Rapid Transit or MTR subway system.
Oh yeah, that shit was all over the trains.
Chewing gum on the sensors of the train doors, causing them to not open or not close when they should have. And this vandalism at scale caused major subway delays, affecting the lives upon thousands and thousands of Singaporeans.
Yeah, they was
And it was
wildin'.
the stunt that broke the camel's back and officially led to the banning of chewing gum. But like everything else they've mentioned, it goes a bit deeper than that. Because this ban on chewing gum isn't just about banning minty fresh breath or keeping the subway system on time. Culturally, this ban signified Singapore's philosophy of having a strict government that enforces strong discipline. And the government saw this chewing gum vandalism as an act of rebellion.
I'm not gonna lie, that shit need to get banned. If I was running a city and all I seen was gun wrappers and gun all over the fucking city, and people are throwing it over the trains and shit, like, yeah, that shit getting banned. I'm sorry.
From its citizens. And with the Singaporean government being as strict as it was and
Singing in public. Oh, this is currently singing in public, but it's 3 months in jail. Using someone's unsecured Wi-Fi network, $10,000 fine or up to $3,000 or 3 years in jail. Feed the pigeons, $500 fine. I think that's the same thing in New York. Fail to flush. Hold on. Well, what's the problem with this fine? Some of these fines are not that wrong. Walk around naked in your house, $1,000 fine. All right, so who the hell snitched on me in my own house that I'm butt ass naked? It's my house. He's bugging on that one. I'm not gonna lie, some of these is not that crazy. Feeding the pigeons, I feel like, even in New York, nigga, you're not supposed to be feeding pigeons. That's not crazy. Failure to flush is $150 fine. That's not crazy. Some niggas be taking these nasty ass shits and leaving it. It is disgusting. Singing in public, some of y'all niggas be annoying as hell. Can't sing, deaf tone. Yes, so some of y'all need to shut the fuck up. Use someone's unsecure Wi-Fi network. Now this is wild. And $10,000 to use Wi-Fi. Fuck out of here.
they decided that they were not going to play games and they wanted to ban it outright. But this ban was twofold, because sure, they wanted to show their civilians and the world that they ruled with an iron fist, but these acts of vandalism also gave them reason to keep the country that much cleaner. Something that a lot of people don't know is that while gum is banned in Singapore, it's not the only odd thing that's banned. Any form of litter is banned, any form of graffiti is banned, jaywalking is banned, spitting is banned, expelling mucus from your nose is banned, and urinating anywhere that is not a toilet is also banned.
Like, don't get me wrong, some of this is valid. I think everything but the graffiti, but like only like moderate graffiti. Like you can't just spray shit everywhere, but like graffiti make the city nice. Like I feel like graffiti can make a city look nicer, or you're abstract. So that's the only thing. Yeah, they tripping on.
Jaywalking is banned.
Jaywalking, they don't enforce that shit. But yeah, no, I can understand it. You don't want niggas getting hit.
Spitting is banned.
I can understand it. blow. I don't know if he meant like blowing your nose or just letting mucus fall out your nose. Like that's nasty if it's the other
Smelling
one.
mucus from your nose is banned, and urinating anywhere that is not
And obviously peeing in public. Nigga, that's like, you feel me? You don't pee in
a
public.
toilet
I mean, I definitely do that shit before. I do it again. But it's like, you feel me? It's nasty as hell.
is also banned. Oh, and if you use a public toilet, you are legally required to flush it. And while
But like, who checking up? Is there a camera in there? Who's watching me to make sure I flush? What if I want to take a nasty ass shit and leave it? Like, what if I really was an ignorant like person? I just wanted to shit all in this bathroom and leave it. Who won't check me?
most of these things are not legal or accepted in other places, it just goes to show that with these specific legal bans, how serious Singapore is about public cleanliness and orderliness. And the chewing gum ban was only an addition of this already ongoing cultural movement. After this seemingly dumb and pretty arbitrary rule was put in place in 1992, many foreign journalists went specifically to Singapore to talk to Lee and question him about the seemingly nonsensical ban. And in every interview, Lee simply defended his point, claiming that you do not take a country from being a struggling country in a quote third world region to being a first world oasis without having
Hold on, oh, I was about to say, this shit look kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie, he really did. He might have, he might have been doing some crazy shit behind the scenes, which I don't support. But he high key, he brought these niggas into life. Nigga, he did what he said it was. He said he was gonna make this shit an oasis. Nigga, look at it. This shit look beautiful.
strong rules, strong discipline, and ruling with an iron fist.
I don't blame him. He said, I'm tired of being in a third world country. He said, I'm tired of being considered a third world country. This this country I live in is getting turned into a fucking oasis. That's what he said. And he did it though. He did it. Can't
Lee
blame
has
him.
even gone on record to state, quote, "We were called a nanny state, but the result is that
Nanny
we are
state.
today better behaved and we live in a more agreeable place than 30 years ago." And when one reporter
Agree.
tried to press Lee claiming that banning chewing gum could be banning the creativity of some individuals, Lee simply said, quote, "If you can't think because you can't chew, try a banana." I have no personal opinion on Lee or the country of Singapore, and
Fair
I
enough.
personally don't think I would want to live in a country with such strict rules. Although it's hard
It's strict, but if those are basically like the generic outline of the rules is like don't do nasty shit in public and be dirty in public, I feel like that's doable. The only really the Wi-Fi thing I'm really tripping on probably the Wi-Fi thing and the flushing. Nah, but even though you probably need the flushing.
to argue against the political career of Lee and the success that Singapore has had in such a short period of time as a result of some of these seemingly dumb rules.
Eh, Like out of all the rules, the only ones probably is singing and the Wi-Fi. The other ones I don't really have no problem with.
And I'm curious to know what you guys think in the comments below. And I guess with that being said, if you
You heard the man. You heard the big dog. Let us know what you think down below in my comment section and his. With that being said, I'll see y'all boys later, dude.
You don't hold my soul. Get your hands off of me. Wanna rest my bones when I am free. You can't control my heart. Bones when I am free. You don't hold my soul. Get your hands off of me. Wanna rest my bones when I am free. You can't control my heart. Bones when I am free. You don't hold my soul. Get your hands off of me. Wanna rest my